Hello, this is David Godfrey. I'm going to present to you my reaction formation theory of the professions, or why you hate your doctor and your lawyer. Most people I know get sick of their lawyers and their doctors. I don't think this is accidental. I think many doctors don't really want to heal, and many attorneys don't really want to advance a client's interests. I think this is because of what I call the reaction formation theory of the professions. A reaction formation occurs when one tries to conceal one's socially unacceptable tendencies by purporting to believe in or aspire to the reverse of that tendency. For example, if one wants to be a drag queen, and let's say this was 30 years ago, one might want to conceal that desire. So one's reaction formation would be to ape John Wayne. In the professions, I think some professionals try to conceal their hostile or at least frowned upon tendencies by working in a field which seeks to attain the opposite of one's hostile desires. Now, let me give you a few examples in 4 professions, and each profession will have, of course, sub-examples. Education. A. If you want to make people feel stupid, you conceal this desire by purporting to want to educate people, and you become a teacher, where the high point of your day is screaming at a student and telling him he is stupid. In my time as an inmate in the New York City public school system, my teacher screamed, "I get paid whether you learn or not, so just shut up." We heard this all the time. When they tried to teach, they made it almost impossible to learn. Although I did very well in school, on occasion I did not grasp the subject matter. Those times were terrible, not because I felt terrible about not grasping the subject matter, but because the teachers were so demeaning, demanding, and it seemed to embarrass us. While the class was still in session, they would proceed to give me a one-on-one tutorial. Now, they spoke in a very loud voice, so everyone could hear that I was being given special help because I was allegedly stupid. They spoke very, very slowly, the better to convey the notion that I was a dunce. They made certain that everyone would know that I had trouble learning. I became so phobic and furious at teachers that the further I got away from teachers and the closer I got to my heroes, the authors of books, the better I did. Another example, when students do poorly, they are given bullshit awards sometimes, such as certificates of attendance. They know the award underscores their academic ineptitude. Everyone knows this. All the smiles and cooing, high-pitched, infantilizing words of encouragement make everyone know it and proves that the teacher knows it. And why does the teacher do it? Because she does not want to teach. She wants to demean. B. Psychiatrists and psychotherapists. If you want to drive people crazy, you conceal this unwholesome desire by becoming a psychiatrist. Look at the results from the Isonex study. 2/3 of neurotics who don't go to therapy eventually get better, but only 44% of those neurotics who go to analysts do get better. And also, so many of the methods practiced by psychotherapists appear to increase your chances of schizophrenia. For example, Dr. Blula said many years ago that 4 traits were emblematic of schizophrenia. In my view, 3 of those 4 traits are engendered by psychoanalysis, which I must admit is much less common today. The traits include A, autism, or being concerned about oneself to the exclusion of the world, and this is inculcated in therapy because you talk about your life ad nauseum. B, loose associations, or jumping from one topic to another in a seemingly incoherent pattern. And this is fostered because patients are taught to free associate in sessions. And C, inappropriate affect or a disconnect between the content of your speech and the manner of your speech. For example, if one said that one wanted to murder one's best friend and one said it in a serene, emotionless voice, that would be considered indicative of schizophrenia because there's a disconnect between the content of the speech and the way the speech is uttered. Now, this can be induced by psychoanalysis because after talking about your issues forever, your speech may be drained of all color and feeling. Blula had another signal trait for schizophrenia, ambiguity, or rather being extreme, or rather having extremely ambiguous feelings about something, but I haven't figured out how that might be engendered by therapy. C, let's talk about doctors who treat physical illnesses. If you want to hurt people physically, you become a doctor of physical illnesses where you can purport to want to heal people. And just look at a few amazing things in the history of medicine. 1, the first class of anti-neoplastic drugs were derived from the mustard gas used by the Germans in World War I. I mean, sometimes chemotherapy works, but isn't it odd that the doctors looked for a poison to find the cure and never thought of giving the patient something which would boost perhaps his immune system to rebut and conquer the cancer? 2, electroconvulsive shock treatment was introduced into Belleville in New York City straight from Mussolini's Italy. 3, 100,000 Americans die every year from infections contracted in the hospital. 4, a doctor from the Mayo Clinic warned in the Times about 10 years ago that this country will have 25,000 additional cancer deaths per year because of the excessive use of CT scans, which emit 400 to 500 times as much radiation as a chest X-ray. 6, and this now we're going into the past. Years ago, leeches were attached to patients' skin to suck their blood. Charming. In the 19th century, a Prussian doctor named Diefenbach performed a hemoglossectomy, or a partial removal of the tongue, to treat stuttering. He held that the operation had to be done without anesthesia. Interesting. 7. The administration of tar water or water infusions with tar was a particular nauseating favorite of medical practitioners in 19th century England. As Dickens writes in Great Expectations, that people had a belief in its virtues corresponding to its nastiness. And D, finally, if you want to lie and deceive, you become a lawyer and purport to seek justice. And the best lawyers are those who lie with great ease and avidity, e.g., the O.J. Simpson defense team. But I am not going to talk about blatant lies that lawyers commit. I am, after all, a lawyer. Instead, I will explain how legal concepts are sometimes deft contortions of reality that enshrine lying. More specifically, let's look at corporation law. If you want to do something you should not do, you say your corporation committed the foul deed. You erect a ludicrous fiction, in my belief, or what's sometimes called the corporate veil between you and your corporation. I didn't do that. The corporation did that. It's akin to someone saying, the devil made me do that. If you don't want to pay your debts, you incorporate. The corporation won't pay its debts, and your individual assets will be inviolate. Perhaps the bedrock notion of corporation law, the notion that the owner of a corporation is not personally liable for anything the corporation does, except in special circumstances, generates the feeling that one can do whatever one likes. And perhaps that's very, very unhealthy for the emotional development of a nation. And perhaps it makes the people so crass and sour and grotesque. In any event, that's the close of my essay. Thank you. Again, this has been David Gottfried. Have a good evening.